He had access to everything, and he chose almost nothing. Epicurus, an ancient Greek philosopher who could have lived in luxury, who had students willing to give him anything, who could have had wealth, comfort, excess, everything society says brings happiness. But he chose a simple garden, basic food, minimal possessions, and he claimed he was happier than kings, because he understood something most people never figure out. The more you need, the more you suffer. And the secret to happiness isn't getting more, it's needing less. So, let's go back, about 2300 years ago, ancient Greece. Athens specifically, everyone's chasing the same things: money, status, pleasure, power, the usual. Because everyone believes more is better. That happiness comes from accumulation, from having everything you want. And then there's Epicurus, watching all this, seeing wealthy people who are miserable, successful people who are empty, people with everything who want more. And he realizes something. The pursuit of more is what's making people unhappy, not the lack of having more, the constant wanting, the endless chasing. That's the problem. So he does something radical. He buys a simple garden outside Athens, invites his friends, and they create a community based on one idea: live simply, want little, enjoy what you have instead of chasing what you don't. People think he's crazy. They call him a hedonist. They think he's teaching people to just indulge in pleasure, to eat and drink and party, to live for the moment with no responsibility. But they completely misunderstand him, because Epicurus's definition of pleasure is the opposite of what most people think. He says true pleasure isn't excitement or thrill or indulgence. True pleasure is the absence of suffering. Physical comfort, mental peace, that's it. When your body doesn't hurt and your mind isn't disturbed, that's pleasure. That's happiness. And you don't need much to achieve that. You need food. Not fancy food. Just enough to not be hungry. You need shelter. Not a mansion. Just protection from the elements. You need friends. Not a huge network. Just people you actually care about. That's the list. Everything else is extra. Nice if you have it, but not necessary for happiness. And here's the key insight. Every extra thing you think you need creates potential suffering. If you think you need expensive food to be happy, you suffer when you can't afford it. If you think you need a big house to be content, you suffer in a small one. If you think you need luxury to enjoy life, you suffer without it. But if you only need the basics, and you have the basics, you're content, you're free, you're happy. Not because you have everything, but because you need almost nothing. And that freedom from needing is what creates peace. Epicurus lives this way. His garden produces vegetables. Simple, fresh food. He has water, bread, cheese sometimes, that's about it. No fancy meals, no expensive delicacies, no imported luxuries. Just basic sustenance. And he's satisfied. Actually satisfied. Not pretending. Not settling. Genuinely content. His students are confused. They come from wealthy families. They're used to comfort. And they ask him, "Don't you want more? Don't you wish you had luxuries? Don't you feel like you're missing out?" And Epicurus says no. Because wanting more is suffering. Even if you get more, you just want even more. It never ends. You're never satisfied. You're always chasing. Always lacking. Always suffering from the gap between what you have and what you want. But if you want less, if you need less, if you're satisfied with basic things, that gap disappears. You have what you need. You want what you have. The constant suffering of wanting more just stops. And that's when happiness becomes possible. He said, "Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember that what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for. Think about that. Everything you have right now, you once wanted desperately. Your home, your job, your relationships, your possessions. At some point, you didn't have these things and you wanted them. And getting them made you happy, briefly, but then you adapted. Got used to them, stopped appreciating them, started wanting the next thing. The upgrade, the better version. And now you're suffering again from wanting what you don't have. Even though you already have things that once would have made you incredibly happy. Epictetus says this is the trap. This is what destroys happiness. Not lack of things, but lack of appreciation for the things you have. Constant wanting of the things you don't, and the solution isn't getting more, it's wanting less, appreciating what's already here. He practices this daily. Every morning, he looks at his simple garden, his basic food, his friends, and he appreciates them. Really appreciates them. Not takes them for granted. Not wishes they were different. Just sees them clearly and feels grateful for them. And that practice, that daily appreciation of simple things, that creates more happiness than any luxury ever could. Because happiness doesn't come from what you have. It comes from how you relate to what you have. And if you can appreciate simple things, you can be happy anywhere, with anything, under any circumstances. But if you need luxury to be happy, you're a slave. Slave to money. Slave to circumstances. Slave to getting and keeping and protecting. You're never free, never at peace, never content. Always stressed about losing what you have or not getting what you want. Epictetus also teaches about fear. He says most people are terrified of not having enough, of losing what they have, of ending up with nothing. And that fear drives them to accumulate more and more, to never feel secure no matter how much they have. But he says that fear is based on a lie. The lie that you need a lot to be okay. That you need luxury to be happy. That you need excess to be secure. And once you see through that lie, once you realize you actually need very little, the fear disappears. You don't need much food to not be hungry. You don't need much shelter to be protected. You don't need much company to not be lonely. The basics are enough. More than enough. And once you really understand that, you're free. Free from fear. Free from constant striving. Free from never-ending want. Now, let's bring this to your life. Because you're probably chasing more, wanting more, thinking more will make you happy. And Epictetus is here to tell you it won't. Not because more is bad, but because wanting more is what's making you unhappy right now. Think about what you actually need. Not want, need. You need food. You probably have that. You need shelter. You probably have that. You need some human connection. You probably have that too. So you have what you need. You have enough, right now, today. But you're not happy. Why? Because you're focused on what you don't have. The nicer house, the better car, the fancier lifestyle, the upgraded version of everything. And that focus on lack, that constant comparison, that's creating your suffering. Epictetus would say, shift your focus. Look at what you actually have. Appreciate it. Really see it. The food in your kitchen, the roof over your head, the people in your life. These are the things that actually matter. These are enough. More than enough. But you've trained yourself to not see them, to take them for granted, to only notice what's missing, what's not good enough, what needs upgrading, and that mental habit is destroying your peace. Here's a practical exercise Epictetus actually did. Once a week, he ate only bread and water. Nothing else. Just the absolute minimum. And you know what happened? The next day, when he ate his normal simple food, it felt like a feast. The basic vegetables tasted amazing. The simple cheese felt luxurious. because he reset his baseline. He reminded himself what enough actually is, and it made him appreciate everything above that baseline as bonus, as luxury, as more than he needed. And that appreciation created happiness that no actual luxury could match. You can do the same. Not to punish yourself, but to reset. To remind yourself how little you actually need. How much you already have. How luxurious your basic life actually is, compared to what humans need to be okay. Try living on less for a day. Eat simple food, use less, need less, and notice how freeing it feels. How much stress disappears when you stop needing so much. How content you can be with very little. And then notice how abundant your normal life feels when you return to it. This is the secret Epicurus discovered. Happiness isn't out there in the things you don't have. It's right here in appreciating the things you do have. And the more you can appreciate simple things, the richer you become. Not in possessions, in contentment, in peace, in freedom from wanting. Most people spend their whole lives accumulating more, and they die still wanting, still chasing, still unsatisfied, because they never learned what Epicurus learned. That more isn't the answer, less is. Not less stuff, necessarily, but less needing, less wanting, less attachment to having more than you need. Epicurus lived in his garden for decades, simple, peaceful, content, while wealthy people in Athens stressed about their fortunes. While powerful people worried about losing power, while everyone else chased more, he enjoyed enough. And he was happier than all of them. Not because he had more, but because he needed less. And that's still the answer. Still the secret. Still waiting for anyone wise enough to try it. You don't need more to be happy. You need to stop thinking you need more. You need to appreciate what you have. You need to see that enough is already here. And that realization, that shift, that's what creates the happiness you've been chasing in all the wrong places. Epicurus proved it, lived it, taught it, and died content in his simple garden, having lived a richer life than most people with vast wealth. Because he understood what most people never learn. Less is more. Not as a clever saying. As an actual truth that changes everything when you finally believe it. Subscribe for more wisdom that frees you from wanting what you don't need.